I'm back, and just in time for Christmas. First off, let me start with the obligatory self-chastising excuses. I've been unwell several times during my absence from YouTube, from sinus infections, which you will probably become aware of during this episode, to knee, back, wrist and ankle issues after throwing myself face first into a wall on Halloween after slipping on a curb. No, I was not drunk before you say anything. If I were, it probably wouldn't have hurt quite as much, or be quite as embarrassing, since after I hit the wall, I realised that my t-shirt had ridden up to flash my breasts in front of several trick-or-treaters and my missus, who looked on in despair. It's a miracle I wasn't arrested for indecent exposure. As for future episodes, I have a few in the pipeline, but I'll have to slow down a little bit due to work pressures and other commitments. It is becoming difficult to finance travelling to the multitude of locations to find the stories and take photos, since I am what could be affectionately referred to as piss poor. Anyway, last year I released my version of The Monkey's Paw by William Y. Mark Jacobs. You can watch that by clicking the link in the top corner of your screen now. I had great fun narrating one of the great stories from the Gothic horror period, so much so that I thought I'd butcher another one for your audible entertainment. This is actually a poem that was published in 1845 and is incredibly atmospheric in nature. If you hadn't guessed what it is from that description, it's the famous poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. The backstory for the poem is an intriguing one. It was written by Poe during a tragic time in his life. His wife was suffering with consumption, now known as tuberculosis. He was also struggling as a writer and was not making money. Due to the stress, he had begun self-medicating by drinking, which inevitably resulted in him arguing and, in some cases, fighting with fellow writers. Unfortunately, his wife Virginia passed away before the poem was published. A shame, considering that the poem became an instant hit and brought Poe the recognition and wealth he so desperately craved. As you will hear in the poem, it is a very tragic tale about a man who lost the love of his life, but is tormented in the memory by a raven. So without further ado, I bring you Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of one gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more. Distinctly I remember it was in bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whose angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad and certain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door. that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dreamed to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what the threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and a flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with a mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's plutonium shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust of his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word did outpour. Nothing further then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom merciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope and melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door, then upon velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaging in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by the angels he hath sent thee. Respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quoth, O quoth this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still of bird and devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by the God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, who the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign in parting, bird or friend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into Tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Well, that's all from us here at Dark Entertainment. I hope that you've enjoyed the episode. If so, remember to subscribe to the channel, slap the bell icon for all notifications, and hit the thumbs up, since it really helps the channel. If you wish to contact me, feel free to drop a comment on the video. I aim to answer all comments in one way or another, or you can find me on X or on Facebook. If you have a suggestion for the channel, a location that you'd like me to look into, or a personal story that you'd like me to tell, feel free to message me at dark_entertainment@outlook.com. Fuck. And remember to have a Merry Christmas without any fire alarms. And stay dark, stay creepy, and always laugh. Ta-ta.